You're standing at the edge of a research vessel in the western Pacific Ocean, about to descend into the deepest scar on Earth's surface. The Mariana Trench stretches below you, a crescent-shaped abyss that plunges deeper than Mount Everest is tall. Before we go down there, make sure you hit that subscribe button and smash the like if you're ready for this journey, because what you're about to experience will redefine everything you thought you knew about our planet. The water is a perfect tropical blue as you slip beneath the surface. 20 feet down, your ears start protesting. That pressure difference of just 35 kilopascals is already threatening to rupture your eardrums. You equalize, pushing air through your eustachian tubes. But this is just the beginning. The sunlight is still brilliant here, dancing through the water in shimmering columns. Schools of tuna dart past, oblivious to your presence. At 200 feet, the light begins its slow retreat. The blues deepen into something more mysterious, more alien. Your body is handling roughly 6 times atmospheric pressure now, but you're a trained diver. You've done this before. What you haven't done is keep going. At 300 feet, the narcosis might start whispering to you. Nitrogen narcosis, that underwater drunk feeling that makes divers do stupid things. But we're not stopping. 660 feet down, and Houston, we have a problem. The pressure here is 200 times what you felt on the surface. This is where your body starts making decisions without your permission. The air spaces in your sinuses are compressing. Your lungs are shrinking. Even with specialized gas mixtures, you're approaching the absolute limit of human diving. The deepest scuba dive ever recorded was 1,090 feet, and that diver spent years preparing for a descent that lasted minutes. We need to have a conversation here at 1,000 feet. See, if you kept going unprotected, things would get messy fast. Your lungs would collapse like empty plastic bottles. The air in your middle ear would compress so violently that your eardrums would implode inward. Your sinuses would fill with fluid or blood as your body desperately tried to equalize the impossible pressure differential. And we're only 3% of the way down. So let's do what only 27 humans have ever done. Let's climb into a submersible. The DS-Vi limiting factor specifically, a titanium sphere designed to resist pressures that would crumple a normal submarine like a beer can. The hatch seals with a heavy clunk, and suddenly you're watching the ocean through a tiny porthole as we begin our real descent into the Hadal Zone. 3,300 feet, and the last traces of sunlight surrender. You've entered the midnight zone, where perpetual darkness reigns. Your submersible's lights pierce maybe 30 feet into the black water, and that's when you see them. Bioluminescent creatures drifting past like organic fireworks. A dragonfish, barely 6 inches long, pulses with an eerie glow from chemical reactions in its own body. It's hunting in a world where vision is nearly useless, and light itself is a weapon. Down at 9,800 feet, something bizarre floats into view. A Dumbo octopus, translucent and gelatinous, its ear-like fins flapping slowly. It shouldn't exist here where the pressure exceeds 4,400 pounds per square inch, but its body has evolved beyond the constraints that would kill surface creatures instantly. No rigid structures to compress, no air bladders to implode. Just soft, pliable tissue that flows with the pressure rather than fighting it. If you want to see what happens next, you better hit that like button right now, because we're about to enter a realm that makes everything above seem like a swimming pool. 13,000 feet down, and you spot something that defies logic. Tube worms, thousands of them, clustered around hydrothermal vents where superheated water blasts from cracks in the seafloor. They're not photosynthesizing because sunlight is a myth down here. Instead, they're running on chemosynthesis, harvesting energy from methane and sulfur compounds. Life has found a way to exist without the sun, thriving on Earth's internal heat alone. The submersible's hull creaks. Not dangerously, but enough to remind you that outside this titanium sphere, the ocean wants to compress you into something the size of a soda can. We're at 20,000 feet now, and the pressure gauge reads numbers that seem fictional. Over 9,000 pounds per square inch. If you somehow found yourself outside this vessel, your bones would begin dissolving. Not breaking. Dissolving. The calcium in your skeleton can't exist in solid form under these conditions. A Mariana snailfish ghosts past your viewport, completely transparent, its organs visible through its gelatinous flesh. It has no swim bladder, because any gas-filled structure would collapse instantly. Evolution has stripped away everything unnecessary for survival, leaving only what works in this crushing darkness. At 29,000 feet, you notice something moving in the sediment below. Amphipods, but not like any you've seen before. These creatures have developed armor plating made from aluminum ions absorbed from the seafloor itself. Metal armor to survive metal-crushing pressure. We're getting close now. The depth gauge reads 35,000 feet. But what's waiting at the absolute bottom will challenge everything you thought possible about life on Earth. 35,853 feet. The depth gauge flickers, and for a moment you wonder if the instruments are malfunctioning. They're not. You've just touched down on Challenger Deep, the absolute bottom of the Mariana Trench. 7 miles of ocean pressed down from above. 16,000 pounds per square inch. 8 tons crushing every single square inch of the submersible's hull. Through the porthole, your lights illuminate a landscape that looks extraterrestrial. Pale sediment stretches out like fresh snowfall, disturbed only by the occasional track from something that crawled through. This is what Earth looked like before life conquered land, before forests, before anything you'd recognize, and yet, impossibly, you're not alone down here. Movement catches your eye. Something's floating just above the seafloor, never touching down. A violet sea cucumber drifting through the water column like it's flying through space. Its entire existence is spent hovering in this crushing darkness, never resting, never landing. You watch it pulse and glide, and realize you're witnessing an organism that has completely rewritten the rules of survival. Then, you see something that makes your blood run cold. A plastic bag. Just sitting there on the ocean floor, 7 miles down, in what should be the most pristine environment on Earth. Victor Vescovo found one just like it in 2019. Candy wrappers, too. Humanity's trash has beaten us to the bottom of the world. The submersible's robotic arm extends, collecting sediment samples, and what scientists will later discover in those samples is even more disturbing. Every single amphipod they examine contains microplastics. 100%. Not most of them. All of them. PCBs, the toxic chemicals banned in the 1970s, are concentrated down here at levels that exceed surface contamination. Carbon-14 from nuclear bomb tests from the 1950s and 60s shows up in the tissue of creatures that have never seen sunlight. If you're still watching, smash that subscribe button because what happens next gets even stranger. Your lights sweep across something massive in the distance. At first you think it's a rock formation, but then you see the bone. A whale carcass picked nearly clean, resting on the abyssal plain, and covering it, hundreds of them, are zombie worms. Osedacs. They don't have mouths or stomachs. Instead, they drill into whale bones and dissolve the fat inside using acid produced by symbiotic bacteria. They're literally eating bones that are harder than concrete, thriving on death that fell from thousands of feet above. The submersible begins its ascent, and you can finally exhale. 4 hours on the bottom is the longest anyone has ever spent down here. Your body hasn't been crushed because titanium and engineering kept the ocean at bay. But you've seen something most humans never will. Life doesn't just survive in impossible places, it dominates them. As you rise through the darkness, you pass through zones of creatures that seem progressively less alien, though that's an illusion. That dragonfish glowing at 6,000 feet is just as specialized, just as perfectly adapted to its pressure range as anything at the bottom. Evolution has filled every available niche in this ocean, from the surface where sunlight dances to the crushing darkness where chemistry replaces photosynthesis. At 20,000 feet, you're still deeper than Mount Everest is tall. The pressure here would still kill you in seconds. At 13,000 feet, those tube worm colonies pass by again, thriving on volcanic heat. At 9,800 feet, more Dumbo octopuses drift past like ghosts. The midnight zone gradually gives way to the twilight zone. 10,000 feet up, and you see the first traces of sunlight filtering down, faint and blue. Your eyes, adjusted to total darkness for hours, find even this dim glow almost painful. Breaking through to 660 feet, the ocean transforms. Fish with normal eyes and rigid skeletons swim past. The pressure has dropped to something merely dangerous rather than instantly lethal. Color returns to the world. You can see more than 30 feet in any direction. And then, finally, you breach the surface. The hatch opens, and air that isn't recycled fills your lungs. Sunlight, real sunlight, warms your face. You've completed a journey that only 27 humans have ever made, descending to a place more remote than the International Space Station, more hostile than the surface of Mars. The Mariana Trench isn't just deep. It's a complete inversion of everything we think we know about where life can exist. It's a reminder that Earth still holds mysteries we're only beginning to understand. And it proves that life, given even the slimmest opportunity, will find a way to not just survive, but thrive in conditions that seem designed to prevent existence itself. That's what 7 miles down teaches you. The ocean doesn't end where light ends. It just gets more interesting.